Hey everyone, I wanted to tell you about why I decided to join the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm 30 years old now. I joined back when I was 19, when I was a sophomore at Texas A&M University. I could give you a list of reasons on why I've joined and why I've stayed for this long, but instead I'm going to tell you something that we call our conversion story. It's basically just a story how I discovered the church, why I joined, and why I got baptized. Maybe in another video I can give you a list of reasons on why I've joined and why I've stayed this long. And if you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or if you're not a member, you're just someone that's thinking about joining or you're just curious, then you might enjoy my story, you might find it relevant, you might find it significant. But if you don't meet one of those categories, my story may mean nothing to you, and that's totally fine. But anytime someone asks me about my conversion story, I always like to give a little bit of background context so I can understand my story a little bit better. I grew up in a somewhat religious household. My parents went to a Pentecostal church on occasion. They didn't go every Sunday, but every now and then they would go, every now and then they would take me. I personally wasn't a fan of going to church. I didn't like going to church. And probably as most children don't like going to church. Maybe they find it boring or for whatever reason, but I didn't like going. And I told my mom, I don't want to go to church anymore. And I remember her being just okay with that. So throughout my childhood years, throughout my teenage years, I didn't go to church. Not only did I avoid going to any church, I was actually pretty anti-religion. I didn't like the idea of religion. I had this basic faith in God and Jesus Christ that my mom instilled in me at an early age. And I feel like it was natural to me to believe in God and believe in Jesus Christ. I didn't know if they were the same person. I didn't know if God was this cloud of energy. I didn't know anything about the nature of God, Jesus Christ. Didn't know much about the Bible. Knew nothing about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints throughout my childhood, throughout my teenage years. I didn't have any friends in that church. I knew nothing about it. But despite all that, I was really anti-religion. I thought our religion was corrupt because man by nature is corrupt. And rightfully so to believe that. Many people believe that in some ways. In some ways, I still believe that to this day. But anyway, growing up having a basic faith in God and Jesus Christ, being anti-religious, let's fast forward to my sophomore year at Texas A&M University. And sometimes you may notice whenever somebody finds Jesus or finds God and invites them into their lives, usually it's a result of a life crisis they're going through. They're going through something bad and they put their faith in God and things work out. But for me, that wasn't the case. At this point in my life, when I was a sophomore at Texas A&M, things were going really, really good for me. I was in a good point in my life. I was happy. Things were going good. I didn't feel like I needed God in my life. But I recognized that the blessings and all the good things that I had in my life were a result of God blessing me. I had good grades. I was receiving a good education. I had good friends. I had just won my first mixed martial arts amateur fight by knockout in the first round. I had these huge dreams of being a UFC fighter. Things were going well. And I felt like God was blessing me with so much, and I wasn't doing anything to show my gratefulness or my appreciation towards everything He was doing for me. So I had the desire to draw closer to Him and be closer to Him. So I remember in my dorm making a prayer one night. I asked God, I told God, I'm like, God, bring me somebody to bring me closer to You. I don't care what religion it is. I don't care what path that may look like. Just bring me somebody, bring me closer to You. And I remember making that prayer about 2 to 3 nights in a row. And I remember believing when I was making that prayer that it would happen, that He would answer my prayer. But then shortly after, I completely forgot about that prayer. It was the last thing on my mind because that week I had midterms. So my days were filled with studying 24/7, preparing for these midterms. I had time for nothing else. So it wasn't until about a week and a half later or so, I had finally finished my midterms. I think it was a biology exam. I finally finished my biology exam and I left the building going back to my dorm. I remember thinking like, oh, I'm so relieved finally. I get a break. I'm gonna go to my dorm, grab something to eat, take a nap, go to the gym and just relax. And then as I was walking back to my dorm, I see 2 guys in black pants and a white shirt. My first thought when I was seeing them is, oh, these guys are salesmen. They're gonna stop me and try to sell me something. But they were in my way, in my direct path I needed to get to my dorm. The only way to avoid them was go through this huge detour I just didn't feel like going through. Anyway, so I'm walking to my dorm. I catch up to them and sure enough, one of them looks to me and stops me and says, hey, do you have a minute so we can share a message with you? I remember my first thought was like, oh great, dude, I don't want to talk to these guys. I don't care about what they're selling me. I don't want to talk to them. But then I was also being honest. I did have time. I just finished my midterms. I did have a minute. So I was being nice and I was like, yeah, sure, I got a minute. Anyway, we sit down. There's a table nearby outside. We sit down at this table and it comes to find out, oh, these guys are missionaries from some church. I'm like, cool. missionaries, I like God, I like Jesus Christ. Sure, I'll hear what you have to say. And we ended up having about a 10-minute conversation. I don't remember everything they told me, but I do remember a few things. They were just asking me questions about what I think about God, what I think about Jesus, and just basic questions, really just to understand and get to know me a little better. But there were a couple things that were very distinct to me. I remember at one point they were explaining that there's a prophet on the earth again. And I remember thinking, that's different. That's kind of weird. I've never heard of anything like that before. And then one of the missionaries told me like, hey, Lucas, we'd love to keep teaching you, keep meeting with you, and eventually baptize you. And my response was, well, I was already baptized as a baby, but I don't remember it. I didn't really make that decision for myself, but I feel like I need to do it again. Now that I'm older, I can comprehend that decision. I just feel like I need to do it again. Anyway, we finished up the conversation. We set an appointment for a few days later, or maybe a week later. I don't really remember. But at the end of the discussion, they gave me a card to go on their website and learn more about the church, learn more about their beliefs. So they gave me a little card. It said Mormon.org. At the time, it was Mormon.org. I think now it's comeuntoChrist.org. But anyway, I took the card. I'm like, cool. I'm going to go back to my dorm. I'm going to research and read everything about their beliefs. I went to Mormon.org at the time. Now it's comeuntoChrist.org. But anyway, I was on my laptop, just like this, just researching, reading everything about their beliefs. When I was reading on their website, I read these words: the Church of Jesus Christ has been restored. I remember as soon as I read those words, I immediately knew it was true. The missionary didn't teach me anything about that. But as soon as I read those words, I knew they were true immediately. It was as if those words jumped out at me and they came alive to me. And it's as if I was looking for this my entire life and I didn't even know it. Then it was at that point that I had remembered my prayer. I had completely forgotten about it because I was so busy studying. I remembered the prayer I made to God for Him to bring me somebody to bring me closer to Him. And at that point, I knew He had answered my prayer. And that was the first time in my life I feel like God really knew me and that He was aware of me and that I knew He was real. And I remember just being filled with these feelings of just peace, joy, happiness, and this love of God. It was the Spirit testifying to me that God had answered my prayer. At the time, I didn't know it was the Spirit, but I learned later it was the Spirit. I just knew what I was feeling, and I knew these feelings were not for myself because I've never felt anything like that in my life, and I knew they were from God. And honestly, at that point, I was already all in. I knew some of the understanding and the learning would come with time, but I knew for a fact this is what God wanted me to do. And about a month later, I kept meeting with the missionaries, kept learning, kept preparing. About a month later, I got baptized in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And to this very day, it's still been the best thing I've ever done. So that's my conversion story. In short, I joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because I knew that's what God wanted me to do. I didn't join because I felt like someone pressured me or some friend pressured me to join the church. I had no friends in that church, by the way. Nor did I join because I intellectually understood everything and everything made logistical sense. I joined because I knew that's what God wanted me to do. And He let me know His will concerning me through the Spirit, and I acted on it. But really, that's kind of my short and a condensed version. I did leave out a lot of details because if I were to give every single detail, we'd probably be here for a long time. But if you have any questions for me about anything at all, you can put them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But other than that, I'll see you guys later.